I used to think long road trips were peaceful. Just you, the road, and the quiet hum of the engine keeping your thoughts company. But now, I can't get behind the wheel for more than an hour without breaking into a cold sweat. This story happened 2 years ago. During a solo drive I took from Northern California up to Washington State. I'd just finished a rough breakup and wanted to clear my head. I figured some time on the road, sleeping in cheap motels and living off gas station coffee might help put things in perspective. I left in the early morning, fog still hanging low over the hills outside my hometown, the sky still that bluish gray before sunrise. I packed up my little hatchback with a few essentials: clothes, snacks, a flashlight, and a camera I hadn't touched in months. The plan was to take my time, stop when I wanted, take photos, maybe even camp if I found a good spot. The first few days were exactly what I needed. I listened to old music, rolled the windows down when the weather allowed, and took photos of empty stretches of road, old barns, and forests that looked like they hadn't seen another soul in decades. I even started sleeping better, something that hadn't happened in months. It wasn't until I crossed into Oregon that things started to feel off. There's this stretch of road called Route 97. It cuts straight up through the state and runs past a few small towns, most of them barely more than gas stations and a diner or two. I was about 2 hours south of Bend when I first noticed it, a red Honda Civic. It was old, like early 2000s, and kind of beat up, with peeling paint and one of those plastic dome tires on the back left wheel. I passed it around noon, going a bit over the speed limit, and didn't think much of it at first. But an hour later, when I stopped for gas, it pulled into the station behind me. At the time, it didn't seem strange. The highway wasn't that busy, and it made sense that we might be traveling the same route, but the driver never got out. I remember that clearly. I was filling my tank, grabbing a bottle of water, and the car just sat there, parked a little off to the side, engine idling. The windows were tinted dark enough that I couldn't make out their face. I stared for a few seconds, waiting for someone to step out, maybe stretch their legs. Nothing. When I got back on the road, I didn't see the Civic again for a while. I figured maybe they turned off somewhere. That's the thing about long drives. Your brain fills in the gaps for you, assumes things. But then, 3 hours later, I stopped to use the bathroom at this creepy rest stop in the middle of nowhere. One of those spots that looks abandoned until you pull in and notice a single truck or RV parked way off in the back. Guess which car was parked near the entrance? Same red Civic, same donut tire, still idling. That time, I didn't get out right away. I just sat in my car with the engine running, staring at it through my rearview mirror. The bathroom was maybe 20 yards away. I really had to go, but something about that car, it felt wrong, like whoever was in there was waiting for something. Eventually, I made myself get out and walk to the bathroom. I kept my keys tight in my fist the whole way, like I could use them as a weapon if I needed to. Inside, the place smelled like bleach and mildew. The lights flickered overhead. I did what I had to do, washed my hands in freezing cold water, and then practically jogged back to my car. The Civic hadn't moved. When I got back onto Route 97, I pushed the gas harder than I normally would. I didn't stop for the rest of the day, not even for food. I just wanted to get as far away from that car as possible. By the time I reached a small town called Shumult, the sun was starting to dip behind the trees, and the gas gauge was hovering just above empty. I didn't have much choice but to pull into a little roadside motel that looked like it hadn't been renovated since the 80s. The lady at the front desk gave me a room near the back, right next to the edge of a pine forest that stretched out for miles. There were only 2 other cars in the lot. One was an old Ford pickup. The other was the red Civic. That's when I knew it wasn't a coincidence. I barely slept that night. I kept the curtains drawn but peeked out every hour or so. The Civic didn't move. I couldn't see anyone inside, but I could feel them watching. I kept the lights on, kept a kitchen knife from my backpack next to me on the bed. I kept telling myself, It had to be a trick of the mind, just paranoia from being alone for so long. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. The next morning, I threw my stuff into the car before the sun was even up. The Civic was gone, which somehow made it worse. I didn't know if it was ahead of me, I didn't know where it was behind me, or watching from somewhere I couldn't see. But I had this awful feeling in my chest, like something had started following me, and it wasn't going to stop. Not until it got what it wanted, and it had just already gotten close. Too close. That was just the beginning. I hit the road before 6 that morning, still shaken from the night at the motel. I didn't shower, didn't even check out at the front desk. I just drove. My plan was to reach Bend by midday, and maybe lose the Civic in the city traffic. Except, I didn't see the Civic at all that day, and that should have been a relief, right? But it wasn't. It just made everything worse, because now, it wasn't just a creepy car showing up over and over. Now it was silence, emptiness, like something had been yanked away, and I didn't know when it would return. And not knowing, that was what really got inside my head. I started checking my rearview mirror every few seconds, watching every turn off, pulling over just to let faster cars pass, trying to see if the Civic was tucked into traffic somewhere behind them. It wasn't, at least not yet. I made it to Bend around lunchtime, sat in a crowded diner downtown trying to eat a grilled cheese I had no appetite for. The place was full of noise, clinking plates, waitresses shouting orders, families talking over each other. And still, I felt completely alone. I was looking out the window, pretending to read the menu, when I saw her, a girl, standing on the sidewalk across the street. She couldn't have been older than 16, skinny, with long black hair that hung like wet string around her face. She was barefoot, and she was staring straight at me. No blinking, no shift in her stance, just staring. I turned my head, pretending to look at something else. Waited a few seconds, then looked back. She was gone. I left the diner without finishing my food. That was the first time I saw her, but not the last. That night I stayed at a cheap chain hotel on the north side of town. The kind where you enter your room from the parking lot and can hear every footstep in the hallway next door. I made sure I was parked directly outside my room. I checked the locks 3 times. I kept the lights on again. I barely slept. At 3:17 a.m., I woke up to the sound of tapping, not on the window, on the wall. 3 slow taps, then silence. I held my breath and sat up, heart thudding in my chest. I strained my ears. Nothing. No footsteps, no wind, not even a car driving by. Just when I thought maybe I imagined it, I heard it again. Tap, tap, tap. This time closer, like it had moved. I grabbed the knife again and moved to the door as quietly as I could, pressing my eye against the peephole. I could see my car. The lot was empty otherwise. No sign of anyone. I stayed like that for nearly 20 minutes, just standing there, staring, waiting for something, anything, to move. But nothing did. Eventually, I made myself go back to bed, knife still in hand. I didn't sleep. In the morning, I found something that nearly made me throw up. On the hood of my car, in the thin layer of dust and pollen, someone had dragged their finger across it. 3 lines, not a word, not a symbol, just 3 long, uneven lines, like someone was testing how soft the surface was, or how easy it would be to mock me. The next day, I decided to get off Route 97. I needed to lose whatever was following me, whether it was a car, a person, or something worse. I cut across to Route 20, heading northeast toward Burns. The further I drove, the more remote things got. Cell service dropped to 0. The gas stations became smaller, more spread out. I stopped at one with rusted-out pumps and a faded Coca-Cola sign swinging in the wind. Inside, the clerk was a man in his 60s with a face like leather. I asked if he knew any scenic places nearby, somewhere quiet, maybe to take a few photos. He didn't even look at me when he answered. "You should stay on the main road," he muttered. "Nothing worth seeing out there." I left without buying anything. I kept driving, hoping I could outpace whatever this was. But I was already too deep. That afternoon, I saw the girl again. I'd pulled off at a scenic overlook. There was a drop-off leading to a dense stretch of forest below, and mountains off in the distance. I got out to stretch, trying to act normal, trying to convince myself that I was normal. Then I turned toward the tree line. She was standing just at the edge of it, barefoot again, long black hair tangled over her face. She tilted her head slightly, like she was curious. I didn't move, neither did she. Then, without warning, she stepped back into the trees and vanished. I got back in the car
decided I couldn't
and left
stay
as fast
at
as I
another motel. I couldn't be trapped in another room with 4 walls and no idea what was outside. So I drove until I found a campground, a primitive one. No bathrooms, just a clearing in the trees with a fire pit and a few flat spots for tents. I didn't have a tent, but I figured I'd sleep in the back seat. It was a mistake. The forest at night is nothing like it is during the day. It swallows sound. It turns every rustle into a threat, every snapping twig into a scream. I tried to sleep, but something kept waking me up. The same sound, over and over. Crunch, 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 footsteps circling the car. When I finally worked up the nerve to sit up and look, I didn't see anyone, but I felt them. And then, right at the edge of the clearing, barely lit by the moonlight filtering through the trees, I saw a shape. The girl again. Only this time, she wasn't just standing there. She was crawling, low to the ground, hands bent at odd angles, knees scraping through the dirt. Her head was tilted up, and her eyes, wide and shining, locked on mine. I turned the ignition so fast, I nearly snapped the key. Threw the car into reverse, tires kicking up dirt and gravel as I peeled out of there. I didn't stop until I saw lights again. Didn't care how far I drove. Didn't care that my gas tank was nearly empty. I just needed to be away. The next few days blurred together. I didn't stop anywhere for long. I barely ate. I slept during the day in parking lots with other cars nearby and drove at night, hoping whatever this was wouldn't follow me in daylight. But it did. Everywhere I went, she was there. Sometimes just a glimpse. Her reflection in a store window, standing still behind a parked car. Other times, she was closer, sitting on a bench when I pulled into a rest stop, pressed up against the glass of my hotel window when I looked up from my bed. Always silent, always watching. And the Civic? It came back too. At first, it was just in the distance, parked on the shoulder, or turning off a side road as I passed. But then it got bolder, following me again, staying just far enough back that I couldn't make out the driver's face. Until one night, somewhere north of Pendleton, I looked at my rearview mirror and saw headlights. Just a single pair. Getting closer. I sped up. So did they. I swerved onto a gravel road and floored it, hoping to lose them. Dust exploded behind me. Branches scraped against the sides of the car. I drove until I hit a dead end. A chain-link gate locked with heavy rusted padlocks. I threw the car in park and jumped out, ready to confront whoever it was. But when I turned around, there was nothing there. No car, no headlights, just empty road. And the girl, standing right behind my car, closer than ever. I could see every detail now. Her skin was gray and paper-thin. Her mouth was twisted into something that wasn't a smile, but not quite a frown either. Her eyes were black, not just dark, empty, like something had scooped out the soul behind them. I didn't scream, couldn't. I just got back in the car, locked the doors, and waited for morning. She didn't move the whole night, not once. That was when I knew it wasn't just a person or a haunted car. Something had latched onto me, and it wasn't going to stop until it dragged me somewhere I couldn't come back from. Something worse than death, worse than madness. Something waiting, just beyond the next curve of the road. And I was getting closer to it every single mile. I reached the Washington border right after midnight. My gas tank was almost empty again, and I hadn't slept in over 24 hours. My hands were shaking on the wheel. My eyes burned. Every shadow on the road looked like it was moving. I didn't have a plan anymore. Just a single goal. Keep going until I couldn't. But Route 97 had other ideas. The GPS on my phone suddenly froze, then shut off completely. No signal, no warning. It just died. Like whatever was following me had finally gotten close enough to cut me off from the world completely. And then, without realizing how, I was back on Route 97. It didn't make sense. I'd taken a different highway hours ago. I shouldn't have been anywhere near it.
but I recognized the curve in the road, the leaning pine trees, the rusted mile marker, half buried in weeds. I'd been here before, only now the road was empty, too empty. No other cars, no lights, no wind. The air felt wrong, heavy, like the night was pressing in from all sides. Then I saw the sign, Ashwood, 3 miles, Ashwood. I hadn't even seen that town on a map, but there it was. Something about the name felt familiar, like I'd heard it in a dream, or maybe a nightmare. I was too tired to think straight. I just needed to stop, just for a little while. Ashwood was a ghost town, not officially. There were buildings, a few scattered houses, a gas station with old-style pumps, and a blinking neon open sign in the window. But there were no people at the gas station anyway, not a single one. Got out slowly, heart pounding. The place looked frozen in time, like nobody had touched anything in years. But the lights were on. The door was unlocked. Inside, the air smelled like old oil and something sour. The shelves were full, dusty but stocked. A few bags of chips, faded candy bars, soda in glass bottles. And there was music, faint, scratchy, coming from somewhere in the back. An old song I didn't recognize, something sad and slow. I stepped up to the counter. That's when I saw the photos. Dozens of them, pinned to the wall behind the register. Faces, some smiling, some not. Most of them looked like snapshots from road trips. People in front of cars, leaning against gas pumps, holding maps. But there was one thing every photo had in common. They were all taken at this gas station. And in every single one, just in the background, there she was. The girl, standing barefoot, watching, sometimes behind a window, sometimes reflected in a car's side mirror, sometimes just barely visible in the corner, half hidden in the shadows. But she was in every photo. I stepped back, stomach churning, mouth suddenly dry. My mind was spinning, and then I saw my car. In one of the pictures, same make, same color, same scratches on the bumper. Only the photo was old, like decades old, and in the driver's seat was me. I stumbled back and knocked over a metal rack of postcards. They clattered to the floor, the sound way too loud in that quiet little shop. Then the lights flickered, and she was there, standing behind the counter. The girl, just inches away now. Her skin was so pale it was almost blue, stretched tight over her face. Her eyes were black holes, pulling in the light around them. Her mouth opened, slow, too slow, and something like steam poured out. Not breath, not fog. It looked alive. It drifted toward me, thick and black, smelling like burnt hair and rotting meat. I backed away, tripping over the fallen rack. She didn't move, but the smoke did. It reached for me, crawled over the floor like it had a purpose, and when it touched my leg, just barely grazed my jeans, every muscle in my body seized. Pain, blinding electric pain that shot through my chest like lightning. My knees gave out. I dropped to the floor, gasping, eyes watering, and then I heard it, not with my ears, inside my head. "You were supposed to stop." Her voice was like gravel and static, layered over with whispers that didn't belong to her. "You passed her. You left her there." I didn't understand. I didn't know what she meant, but something inside me did. A memory surfaced, fast, blurry, like a dream I'd buried. Years ago, another road trip. I was 19, driving too fast, tired. It was late at night, and there was a girl, standing on the side of the road, her thumb out, barefoot. I didn't stop. I didn't even slow down. I told myself it was too dangerous, that I couldn't trust anyone out here alone. But the truth? I saw something in her face that scared me, and I just kept going. I left her behind. The smoke twisted around my arms now, my chest, my neck. I couldn't move. My vision dimmed at the edges, like I was falling into a tunnel. And then, in a flash so fast it barely registered, I saw something else. Not the girl. Something behind her. Something vast. With no shape, no face. Just darkness. Watching, waiting, feeding. The girl wasn't the end. She was the beginning. A messenger. A warning. A punishment. I was shaking, crying. My heart slammed against my ribs like it wanted out. And then, just when I thought I was going to black out, she blinked. Once. And everything stopped. The smoke vanished. The lights returned. The music ended. I was alone again. I crawled out of that gas station like an animal, barely able to stand. Got in the car, turned the key, and somehow it started. I didn't look back. I didn't stop until I hit the interstate. But even now, even writing this, I know I didn't escape because I still see her in the mirror, in the corner of my eyes. Sometimes I hear the tapping again at night. 3 slow knocks, always 3. And sometimes, when I'm driving on a quiet road and everything feels too still, I see her on the shoulder, waiting. And this time, I know if I stop, she won't let me leave. It's been 6 months since Ashwood. I say that like it was a place I visited, like I could look it up on a map or punch it into a GPS and get directions. But it's not there, not anymore. Maybe it never was. I tried searching, tried digging through old records, gas station logs, travel blogs, anything, but there's nothing. Like it was swallowed up by the earth. Like it only exists in the part of your brain that stores nightmares. But I remember the black smoke, God, I remember everything. The pain, that voice inside my head. I can still feel the cold concrete floor under my palms. I can still hear the song on the radio. I don't even know what it was, but sometimes when I hear something similar, a slow, sad tune, I get sick to my stomach and have to pull over. I don't drive at night anymore. I barely drive at all. My car sits in the garage under a tarp. I took the battery out. Sometimes I catch myself looking out the window just to make sure it's still there, that she isn't sitting in the back seat, that the smoke hasn't started leaking from the vents again. I never told anyone what happened. Not really. My sister noticed I changed after the trip, said I seemed off. I lied and told her the drive wore me out, that I had a couple bad nights in cheap motels and just needed time to get back to normal. But that's the thing. There is no normal anymore. I see shadows move when they shouldn't. I hear the soft tap 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 of her knuckles on glass in my dreams. Sometimes, I wake up thinking I'm still on Route 97, headlights slicing through the dark, her silhouette just barely visible on the shoulder. I tried therapy, sat in a small office with plants and motivational posters on the wall. The therapist asked about my childhood, my work stress, unresolved grief. I almost laughed. How do you explain to someone that you ran into something that isn't supposed to exist? That something ancient and cruel looked inside your soul and judged you for a single choice you made years ago? Worse than not being believed is being believed just enough. She told me it sounded like survivor's guilt. Said maybe the girl was a projection of my conscience. That the town, the gas station, the photographs, it all might have been my brain trying to process a deep, buried trauma. I never went back because it wasn't in my head. I know that now. It was real. Or if it wasn't, it's real enough to follow me. I don't talk to people much anymore. Conversations feel fake, distant. I can't explain it, but something inside me broke out there. Or maybe something broke into me. Either way, I'm not the same. I've tried to rebuild my life. I got a new job, something quiet, working from home, minimal interaction. I live alone now. I had a girlfriend for a little while, but I couldn't let her in. I couldn't sleep next to someone, knowing the girl might decide to show up again. I couldn't risk dragging someone else into this, because I think that's how it spreads. Through memory, through guilt, through stories. Sometimes I wonder, how many other people have seen her? How many have their own versions of that gas station? Other cursed spots along forgotten highways, moments of decision that became traps, and how many of them are just missing now? I tried burning the photo, the one with me in it, the one I pulled from the wall before I left. I thought maybe destroying it would do something, break a link, erase the memory. But when I lit the match, the edges curled and turned black, and the center, my face, smiled. I dropped it and stomped it out, heart racing. The picture was ruined, but I could still see it clearly in my mind. And sometimes, when I close my eyes, I see another one that doesn't exist yet. I'm standing by the gas pump. She's behind me, closer now, her hand almost on my shoulder. The worst part? I'm smiling in that one too. I've learned to live around the fear. You can't kill it. You just make room for it. Treat it like a tenant that pays rent in dread. I've made peace with the idea that some things aren't meant to be understood. That sometimes the universe cracks just wide enough for something else to get through. And if you're unlucky or stupid, you see it. And once you see it, it sees you back. But the thing that eats at me the most, the thing I can't stop thinking about, is this. She wasn't asking for help. She wasn't trying to punish me. She was waiting. And I think I wasn't the first to pass her by. I think I was just the first to come back. They say, if you dream about a place more than once, it means you left something there. I dream of Ashwood all the time. I see the flickering neon, the dusty candy racks, the crooked road sign. I hear that song playing on a warped tape deck somewhere in the distance. And I feel her presence behind me, closer every time. One day, I'll stop dreaming. And I know what that means. It means I've gone back for real. Or she's come to me. Whichever comes first. I used to think horror was a moment. A single event that came out of nowhere. Struck fast and was over just as quickly. Something you could point to and say, that was the worst of it. Like a crash or a scream in the dark. But it's not. Real horror is quieter. It lingers. It changes how you see everything. It turns gas stations into graveyards, roads into traps, your own reflection into something you can't trust. I'm still here, and it never still really alive. That's something, I guess. But I don't think of myself as a survivor. Survivors move on. They talk about what happened like it's in the past. Me? I just exist after. I think the girl was never really a person. Not in the way we understand it. She was a shape made out of guilt. A haunting for people like me. The ones who looked away, who ignored someone else's fear because it was easier. She wasn't just looking for help. She was showing us what we'd done by pretending we hadn't done anything at all. And maybe there are others. Maybe she's not the only one. Maybe there's something for everyone. Some other version of the road, the face, the moment you turn the other way. Whatever she was, she's a part of me now. I used to scream awake, drenched in sweat, heart racing. Now I just wake up slowly. Numbasa, like my body, has given up trying to warn me. I've lost count of how many times I've seen her in dreams. I never see her face clearly anymore. It shifts, becomes something else, something familiar. Once it looked like my sister. Once it looked like me. About 2 months ago, I tried driving again. It wasn't even a long trip, just a few hours north to visit my mother. I planned it for daytime, triple-checked the route, took side roads, avoided anything that even felt like a highway. It was fine at first, just trees, hills, quiet stretches of open land. Nothing strange, but halfway there, the sky changed. The clouds got low, the air turned thick, and my radio crackled. Just for a second, and that same song came through. I don't know how. I don't even know why, because I don't think she needs the song. I think it's just to remind me she can still reach me, wherever I go. I turned around, never made it to my mom's, never tried again. Some places aren't about directions. They're about choices, and once you've made the wrong one, they stay with you. I've thought about disappearing, just leaving everything behind. Sell the house, ditch my phone, go live off-grid. I imagine it would be quiet, peaceful even. But then I remember that night, that impossible night, and I realized something that chills me more than anything else. She doesn't need roads, or towns, or signs. She found me once. She can do it again, so I stay where I am. I keep things the same. I don't poke around. I don't test fate, because I've seen what happens to people who dig too deep. But here's what really keeps me up. The thing I can't stop thinking about. What if it wasn't just about me? What if I wasn't the only one she was waiting for on that road? What if every picture on that gas station wall was another story like mine? People who passed her by, people who didn't stop, people who turned away from something they didn't want to see. And what if she doesn't want revenge? What if she wants something worse? To be remembered, because that's how fear survives, not through blood or violence, but through memory, through story. So, yeah, I survived, kind of. But I've also passed something on. I know that now. Every time I tell this story, whether I mean to or not, it spreads, like a ripple in water, like a shadow on the road. Someone else will hear it. Someone else will drive late at night and see a girl on the side of the highway. And in that moment, they'll have a choice. Stop or keep going. Look back or pretend she was never there. And if they choose wrong, like I did, maybe they'll find themselves in Ashwood. Maybe they'll see the photos. Maybe they'll hear the song. Maybe they'll meet her. And maybe they won't come back. So here's the part where I should wrap it up. Say something wise. Try to give it meaning. A clean ending, the way stories are supposed to end. But the truth is, there isn't one. Because last night, I woke up at exactly 3:03 a.m. to a sound, a slow steady knock, 3 times, on my bedroom window. I live on the 2nd floor, and when I looked, nothing was there. But the glass had fogged up, and in the center was a small perfect handprint, still wet. The last time I saw Sam, he was standing in the middle of the road, just past mile marker 237, staring into the woods like he heard something calling him. We were on the tail end of a cross-country trip, one of those dumb, half-planned adventures you do in your 20s when you think nothing can touch you. It was me, Sam, and Tyler, packed into my beat-up SUV with nothing but a cooler full of gas station snacks, cheap motel reservations, and a worn-out playlist that kept skipping. We'd been driving for almost 2 weeks by then. National parks, dive bars, long empty highways. It was supposed to be a kind of reset, something to get us out of our heads after the last few months. See, we'd all been through something. Tyler's dad had passed away suddenly. Sam got dumped after 5 years with a girl he thought he was going to marry. And me, I was just lost. No real direction, no job I cared about, just floating. The road felt like freedom, until it didn't. The day things started to go wrong, we were somewhere in northern Idaho. The map said we were a few hours from a place called Elkview, a nothing town surrounded by dense forest and mountains. The kind of place that barely shows up on GPS. The highway was quiet, just long curving stretches of gray cutting through endless green. We passed the occasional road sign or rusted out mailbox, but otherwise, it was like we were the only people left in the world. Around 3 p.m., we saw the first one, a woman, standing off the shoulder of the road, facing away from traffic. Just standing there, still as a statue. No car nearby, no sign of trouble. Her long black hair blew slightly in the breeze, but she didn't move. We all saw her. Tyler made a joke about the ring, and Sam muttered something like, "Probably high." We laughed, keep driving, tried to forget it. But then we saw another one, maybe 30 minutes later. A man this time, bald, wearing a flannel shirt, arms hanging limp by his sides. Same position, same stillness, facing the woods. This time, we got quiet. "I think they're watching something," Sam said from the back seat. I glanced at him in the mirror. He was pale, eyes locked on the trees, even after we passed. Tyler tried to play it off. "People are weird, man. You ever been out in the sticks? Half of them are probably survivalists or something." But I could feel it, that shift in the air. It was like the road was folding in on itself. Like the longer we drove, the farther we got from anything real. We didn't see any other cars. No exits. No gas stations. The only constant was the road and the trees. And the people. By the time we passed the 4th one, no one was talking. Just past 6:30, the sun started to dip low, casting long shadows across the road. I was gripping the wheel tighter than I needed to, heart pounding for no good reason. That's when we saw the sign, mile marker 237. Except this one was different. It wasn't metal. It wasn't even a proper sign. It looked handmade, wooden, crooked, painted in what looked like dark red paint. Or not paint. "Let's pull over," Sam said suddenly. I thought he was joking, but he wasn't smiling. "Why?" Tyler asked, glancing around. "Dude, no. This place is giving me the creeps." But Sam was already unbuckling, leaning forward between the seats. I heard something, back there, like someone calling, "There's nothing out there," I said. Sam looked at me like I'd said the wrong thing. "You didn't hear it?" he asked quietly. That's when I realized he was shaking. I don't know why I stopped the car. Maybe I was trying to calm him down. Maybe I was curious too. But I pulled over to the gravel shoulder. Sam stepped out immediately and walked ahead toward the marker. I remember the sky turning that weird, electric shade of blue just before night kicks in. I called out to him. He didn't answer, Tyler swore under his breath and got out to follow. I stayed in the car, watching, listening. The woods was silent, too silent. Not even the sound of birds or bugs, just stillness. After a few minutes, Tyler came back, alone. Dude, he's gone. I thought he meant Sam wandered off. Maybe went to pee or something. But when I got out and we walked to the spot together, past the crooked sign, toward the trees, there was nothing. No footprints in the soft dirt. No branches pushed aside. It was like he'd stepped off the edge of the earth. We called his name for what felt like hours. No answer. Just the trees. Just the dark. Eventually, we gave up. Drive to the next town. Filed a report. Told the cops everything. Except the truth. Because what were we supposed to say? That our friend got called into the woods by nothing? That he vanished in the space of a breath? They didn't find anything. Not then, not ever. But that's not the end. Not even close. Because a few weeks ago, almost a year after that trip, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. No message inside. Just a photograph of mile marker 230, half hidden in the trees, was Sam, staring back at me, eyes wide, mouth open, like he was still screaming. The photo shouldn't have been possible. I sat there for hours, just staring at it, flipping it over in my hands like maybe the back would explain something. It didn't. Just a blank square of glossy paper, slightly bent at the corners, like it had been passed around. In the picture, the mile marker was exactly how I remembered, leaning to the right, handmade, jagged letters burned into the wood. But behind it, off to the left, half concealed in the tree line, was Sam. It wasn't just someone who looked like him. It was him. Same messy hair, same jacket, his favorite green windbreaker with the rip on the sleeve, the one he wore the day he disappeared. But there was something off about his face. His mouth was open like he was yelling, but it was frozen mid-expression. And his eyes, they looked dead, not in the horror movie sense, just empty, like no one was behind them. I don't know how long I sat in my apartment with that photo in my hands before I picked up the phone and called Tyler. He didn't answer. Tyler hadn't been the same since that trip. He moved back in with his mom for a while, dropped off social media, stopped returning calls. I hadn't seen him in over 6 months, and the last time we talked, he told me, "Sometimes I hear someone whispering my name when I'm alone. I think it's Sam." At the time, I figured it was just guilt, trauma, the kind of mental aftermath that comes from seeing something you can't explain. Now I wasn't so sure. I tried again, still no answer. Then I looked at the photo again, closer this time, and that's when I saw it. Just behind Sam's shoulder, barely visible in the shadows, was a shape, not a person, not quite. It was too tall, too thin, arms too long, its head tilted slightly, like it was studying him, or maybe posing, like it wanted to be in the photo. I felt sick. That night I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Sam, saw him turning slowly toward me in the woods. But his face would change, his skin would stretch, his mouth would hang open wider than humanly possible, and that thing would step out from behind him. I woke up at 2:37 a.m. exactly. No alarm, no noise, just a sudden jolt, like something was watching me. My apartment was cold, too cold for spring. I checked the thermostat. It was set to 72, but the air had that damp forest chill to it. Then I saw it, sitting on my kitchen counter. Another photo, this one of me, taken from behind while I stood outside my building. I don't remember the photo being taken, but there it was. Same glossy paper, same slight pen in the corner. I didn't sleep after that. By morning, I'd made up my mind. I had to go back to the road, the mile marker, wherever Sam had gone. Not because I thought I could save him, not even really because of guilt, but because I felt like I was already being pulled back, whether I liked it or not. And if I didn't go willingly, I didn't think it would wait for permission. I drove out 2 days later. Same SUV, same playlist. The only difference was the silence in the car. I hit the stretch of highway in Idaho sometime after noon. I'd marked the mile marker on a physical map just in case the GPS started acting weird like last time. For a while, it was quiet, normal, just road and trees and sky. But the closer I got to marker 237, the more things started to change. The trees looked off, like they were leaning toward the road ever so slightly, and the sun seemed stuck in place, always low in the sky, casting those long, deep shadows no matter what time it was. Then the people started to appear again, same as before, still facing the woods, unmoving. But this time, I realized something else. They were closer to the road than before. Some of them looked like they had aged, like they'd been standing there for years. And worse, one of them looked just like a girl I used to work with, someone who'd gone missing last year. Her name was Kayla. Quiet, kind. She vanished on a solo trip across the West Coast. I never put it together until I saw her there. And then I knew. It wasn't just Sam. Whatever this place was, it took people no one would really miss. The lost ones, the drifters, the people running from something. I started to think maybe we hadn't found the road by accident. Maybe it had found us. I finally pulled over when I saw the crooked wooden sign. Mile marker 237. Exactly how I remembered it. Still leaning, still rotting. The woods behind it looked deeper than before. Too dark for daytime, like something was sucking the light inward. I stood there for a while, listening. Then I heard it. A voice, low, distant. My name, whispered once, drawn out like a breath. Jason. I turned, heart in my throat. Nothing. Then I looked down. I don't remember deciding to follow leading into the woods. I just did, step after step, like my body wasn't mine anymore. The deeper I went, the quieter it got. My footsteps didn't even make sound. No crunching leaves, no snapping twigs, just silence. And then, up ahead, I saw him, Sam, standing with his back to me. Same green jacket, same messy hair. I called his name. He didn't move. I walked closer. My hands were shaking. Sam, I said again, louder. He turned around, and I swear to God, it wasn't him. His face was almost right. The features were all there, but too smooth, like it had been sculpted from memory. His smile was too wide, his eyes too glassy. He tilted his head and whispered, "You finally came back." His voice was layered, like two people speaking at once. One low and familiar, the other high and sharp, like broken glass. I took a step back. He took one forward. The trees around us pulsed, like they were breathing. Behind him, more people stepped out, all of them with familiar faces, but none of them were real. I saw Tyler, my old boss, my childhood best friend, all of them smiling too wide, eyes too empty. "You left us behind," they said in unison. The forest started to hum, low and vibrating, like it was alive. I turned and ran, and as I ran, the forest seemed to shift around me. Paths twisted, trees bent, the ground tilted and heaved like it didn't want to let me go. I don't know how long I ran, but somehow, I broke through the tree line, back onto the road, back to the car. I didn't look back, not once. I drove until the gas light came on, and then I kept driving on fumes. I didn't stop until I saw a real town, with lights, people, noise. And when I finally pulled over and opened my glove box to grab my wallet, there was another photo, this one taken from inside the woods, and in the center was me, running, with that same tall, twisted shape in the background, just watching. I didn't go home. I couldn't, after what I saw in the woods, after what chased me back onto the road. The idea of stepping into a dark apartment alone felt impossible. Instead, I got a cheap motel room just off the interstate, one of those places that smells like mildew, no matter how long the windows are open. I didn't even shower, just locked the door, shoved a chair under the knob, and collapsed on the bed with all the lights on. The photo was still in my glove box. I thought about throwing it out, burning it, but I couldn't bring myself to touch it again. Instead, I laid there with my eyes open for what felt like hours, waiting for the sun to rise, waiting for that thing to come, walking through the door, wearing someone else's face. It didn't, not that night, but sleep didn't come either. The next morning, I finally got a hold of Tyler. His voice sounded thin, dry, like he hadn't used it in days. "You went back, didn't you?" he asked before I could say anything. I didn't answer right away. He sighed on the other end. I knew it. I felt it. Ever since yesterday, I've been hearing it again. The whispers, the scratching on the window. It's worse this time. There was a pause. I think we woke something up. That hit hard, because I knew he was right. Later that day, I checked my phone and found a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. The message was short, 7 seconds of static, and then, just barely audible, my own voice. Help me. I swear to God, it was me, but not me now. It sounded strained, like I was crying, like something had been broken inside me. Then came a click, and silence. I spent the next 2 days in that motel, trying to make sense of everything, trying to research missing person cases near mile marker 237, but there was barely anything. No mentions of Elkview, no photos of the sign. It was like the whole place didn't exist unless you were already part of it. That's when I got the third photo, slipped under my motel door sometime between 3 and 4 a.m. This one didn't show Sam or me. It showed the thing, clearly this time, and I wish I could describe it in a way that makes sense, but I can't. Every time I try, my memory of it starts to blur like I'm looking at it through water. It was tall, wrong. Its limbs didn't bend the way they should. Its skin looked like tree bark, stretched too tight over bones. And its face, it didn't have one, just a shape, a suggestion. Your brain tries to fill it in, but it can't. It just guesses at something familiar. It stood alone in the woods, closer than before. Each photo it was getting closer. I finally snapped. I packed my things and started driving again. I didn't care where. I just needed distance. But after 4 hours on the road, I saw the sign, mile marker 237. I hit the brakes so hard the car skidded sideways. There was no way, no physical way I had looped back. I checked my phone. No signal. GPS, frozen. Time? 2:37 p.m., same as when Sam vanished. I got out of the car and screamed. Nothing answered. Then I noticed the road. It looked new, not paved, like I'd driven 50 years back in time. The forest was even darker than before, heavy and still, like it was waiting for something. Then I heard it. Not a voice this time. A song, faint, echoing through the trees. It was an old folk tune, one Sam used to hum when he was anxious. He'd picked it up from his grandfather, something Appalachian, passed down. Hearing it now made my skin crawl. It was calling me again. I don't remember walking into the woods, I just was there. The trees were wrong again, taller, leaning in, moving maybe. The air felt thick like syrup. Every breath was a struggle, every step like wading through mud. But the song kept playing, and I kept walking. And then the forest opened up into a clearing. And that's where I saw them, everyone. Sam, Tyler, Kayla, people I knew, people I didn't, all of them, standing in a circle, eyes closed, faces blank. In the center stood the thing. It turned toward me. No eyes, no mouth, and still I knew it was looking right into me. I dropped to my knees. My head was pounding. My ears started to bleed. I couldn't breathe. The thing raised one of its arms, impossibly long fingers curling toward me like it was beckoning. And then, they all opened their eyes. Every person in the circle, and they all smiled. The same smile, wide, broken, inhuman. Then they started to hum the song, together, in perfect unison, like they'd practiced, like they'd been waiting for me to join in. Something in my chest cracked. I felt it, right there under my ribs, like a wire snapping. My vision blurred, my hands wouldn't move. But deep inside, some tiny part of me screamed, "Run!" So I did. I didn't know how. I couldn't feel my legs, could barely see. But I ran. I tore through the trees, branches slicing my face, something grabbing at my jacket. I heard footsteps behind me, heavy, slow, dragging. I didn't look. I didn't dare look. I made it back to the road. The car was gone. Everything was gone, except the sign, leaning, crooked, wooden, freshly painted, with my name on it. Mile marker Jason. I don't remember how I got out of there. I woke up 2 days later in a hospital parking lot, wrapped in a blanket. Someone knocking on the window of a car that wasn't mine. The cops said I'd been reported missing. For 9 days, I couldn't speak, could barely think. They said I was found barefoot, dehydrated, muttering something about trees and songs and faces without faces. They let me go after a psych evaluation, but they shouldn't have, because whatever that thing is, it didn't stay in the woods. It followed me out. It's been 3 months since that night. People keep telling me I'm lucky. that it's a miracle I survived whatever happened in those woods, that I should be grateful to be alive. They don't get it, they can't, because whatever that thing was, it didn't kill me. It did something worse. It left the door open. The doctors said I had a dissociative episode, probably from stress, maybe compounded by dehydration or sleep deprivation. They threw around words like hallucination, psychosis, and trauma response. They had an explanation for everything, except for the photo, the last one I got. I didn't tell them about it, I didn't show anyone, but I kept it. It's in a box, hidden at the very back of my closet. Not because I want it, but because I'm afraid of what would happen if I destroyed it. The photo still shows the clearing, but now it's empty. No people, no monster, just trees and mist. And in the bottom right corner, carved into the dirt with something sharp, is a word. Next. I don't sleep much anymore. When I do, the dreams come, always the same. The humming, the circle, faces I know and faces I don't, all turn toward me, grinning. I wake up with nosebleeds and scratches on my arms that I don't remember getting. Sometimes I hear things at night, like something moving just outside the window, a dragging sound, like bare feet across pavement, or the soft creak of old wooden boards, like the sign, like a tree swaying in wind that isn't there. Twice now, I've woken up to find my apartment door unlocked. Once, wide open. I live on the 4th floor. No stairs nearby. No fire escape. No reason. Tyler stopped answering my messages last week. His voicemail's full. Socials deactivated. The last thing he sent me was a voice memo at 3:37 a.m. He was whispering, almost too quiet to hear. Something's outside. It looks like me. And then, I think I let it in. That was it. He's gone. I tried to talk to Kayla. She didn't want to hear it. She'd gone full denial. Said it was the woods. Said it was grief. Said it was Sam's fault for wandering off. I told her about the photos. I told her about the sign. And she just snapped. Started yelling. Said I was sick. Said I needed help. Said if I ever came near her again, she'd call the cops. I don't blame her. Some nights, I wonder if she's right in the whole thing, if I'm just broken. But then the humming starts again. Soft, distant, threading through the walls. And I remember, I'm not imagining any of this. There's one more thing. Something I haven't told anyone. When I look in the mirror, really look, I see something behind my eyes. Not like a reflection, more like a shadow, watching me from inside. I've started catching myself doing things I don't remember, rearranging my room, writing in notebooks I don't remember buying. Last night, I found a map drawn in shaky pen, all interstates, all markers, one circled in red, mile 237, but not the one near Elkview. This one was in Texas, and underneath it, I wrote a single word in my own handwriting. Soon. I don't know if I'm being pulled back, or if something inside me is pulling others in. That's what haunts me now. Not just what I saw, but what I might become. Because I don't think that thing in the woods took people. I think it replaces them, wears them, becomes them, like a suit, and I think it's still wearing someone. Maybe Sam, maybe someone else, and maybe someday, me. I've been thinking a lot about what happened to me, about the woods, the photos, the thing that wore my face. I've been thinking about how it all started, how simple it seemed at first. Just a wrong turn off the highway, a missed exit, a sign that wasn't there one moment, and then there the next. I wonder though, if it was always there, just waiting for someone to find it. I left town after everything with Tyler happened. It wasn't just because of him, though I'm not sure I'll ever know what happened to him. I left because I couldn't stay. The whispers in the walls were too much. The feeling that someone was watching from the corner of my eyes. The cold spots in my apartment. It was as if it was following me. Moving through the cracks, I couldn't see. Always a step behind, a breath away. But I couldn't run forever. And the longer I stayed away, the worse it got. The dreams became worse, deeper, more vivid. Every time I closed my eyes, I was back in the woods, back in the clearing. The faces around me all turned toward me, smiling. But then they weren't my friends anymore. They were strangers. All of them, including me. I moved to a small town on the outskirts of Denver, far from Elkview, far from the highway, far from the memories. It didn't help. One night, about 3 weeks ago, I heard it again. The humming, distant at first, then growing louder, closer. I tried to sleep through it, but I couldn't. I kept telling myself it was just my mind playing tricks, that I was still stuck in that place, deep inside my head. But the humming didn't stop. It never stops. And I remembered the first time I heard it, back in the woods, when it was just me and Sam and Tyler. The first time I heard it, it was far away, a whisper, like a ghost of something long gone. Now it was louder. It was inside my head. I turned on the light. There was nothing in the room, but I could feel it, right behind me. The next morning, I went to the post office to check my mail. It had been a few weeks since I'd gotten anything, but I figured maybe there'd be some kind of letter, anything to explain what the hell had happened. But there was nothing, except for one envelope, unmarked, no return address. I opened it slowly, my hands shaking. Inside, a single photo. The photo was blurry at first. It showed an empty road, the kind that stretched out for miles without any sign of life. But the more I looked at it, the clearer it became. In the distance, just past the shoulder of the road, stood a sign, a wooden sign, mile marker 237. The photo was old, faded, like it had been taken years ago. But I didn't need to look any closer to know, because I recognized the name at the bottom of the photo. Jason. I don't know how it knows, but I know it's coming for me again. Or maybe it never really left. So, I'm leaving this here, this final entry, not for anyone else but for me. I need to remember. I need to write it all down before I forget, before it takes my face again. I don't know if I'll make it through this time. I don't know if I'll even survive, but I can't hide anymore. Because when I think back to that first day, the first time I saw mile marker 237, I realized the worst part of it wasn't that I found it. It's that it found me. And I'm afraid that no matter where I go, no matter how far I run, it's already waiting. The thing about mile marker 237 is that it's never really gone. It's just waiting for the next person to take that turn. And when they do, it'll be ready.